Well, this thing says I'm live. Yeah, they probably would, Mama Linda. St. Joe fix it for you and Sampy and Mama Linda. How y'all doing? Elaine will be back shortly. She had to go run take care of some pressing issues. At our age, of all of us, I don't imagine I have to explain that any further. So how is everybody? I hope you're doing better than me. I'm sore today. Had to work with my air compressor and get it working right so I could air up them tires out there on that car. Had to go get me a new hose and a new nozzle because I couldn't find my old nozzle. And my old hose had a lot of holes in it. I know you do, Mama Linda. I'm sure Sampy does too, quite a bit. I know Joe does to an extent, but he's more active. So he's moving all the time. So it might not be quite as bad on him. I don't know. I said yesterday in the lanes I'd be talking about them tires. A few weeks ago, about 2 or 3. Yeah, I got one of those little cheap yellow ones from Harbor Freight. Goes to a little cheap pancake compressor I got from Harbor Freight. But hey, it does the job, so that's all that matters. But on a whim, I decided to check the air pressure on the tires. So I clicked the little menu button on that left stick on the steering column. And it showed me I had 34 pounds of pressure in all but the back left tire. Had 32 in the back left. Well, there's one day Half Done was running around here doing some stuff in the yard. And the other day, we left to go do our morning thing. About halfway down to where we go, a little thing popped up on the dashboard display and let me know that left rear tire was at 28 pounds. So we got down there to the daycare. I thought, well, I'm just going to see something here. So we got down there and I hit that little menu button and brought up the tires. It showed that each one of those tires were exactly 4 pounds down from what they were before. 3 of them was at 30 and that one was at 28. Dale! How you doing, Dale? So I thought, that's mighty strange. It would seem kind of coincidental. But folks, I'm like Jethro off NCIS. I don't believe in coinkydink. So got home. I thought, I'm going to check something. I got my little pressure gauge out and also has a little valve tool. Each one of those valves were exactly 1/8 of a turn out. Now that would account for each tire being exactly 4 pounds down. Linda Dobson! Good day.
Hi, everybody I hadn't said hi to. Hi, Melinda.
I thought, that is not a coinkydink.
Yeah, I got Joe and Dale said hi to.
Somebody had to have turned those valves out. Because, For the longest, that thing been riding just fine. All of a sudden, they ain't. I'm thinking when they did do that, half done. I know. I'm just gonna put it out there. Not gonna say names, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And if anybody's trolling, they'll figure it out quick enough. Half done. He is the same one that berated me for having a bucket over that outside hydrant. Of course, he started berating me about that when I started explaining why I took the handle off that hydrant, because somebody kept turning it where it dripped. That was his knee-jerk reaction, letting me know it was him making it drip. So he changed the subject to start berating me about having that bucket over the hydrant. So I was talking about why I took that handle off and everything. And he went straight, well, anybody that would put a bucket over the... Okay. Well, after you got done messing around out there, and I just had a thought, I need to check something. So I peeked out the curtain of the window back there. Guess who put the bucket over that hydrant? Yep, half done. Now, he didn't cover up the faucet part of that hydrant. I guess he figures I wouldn't check it. So I guess he's going to try to prove to me that it won't freeze because, it didn't cover that part up. Well, I'm going to take one of these days when it starts getting colder, and I'm going to take and do what needs to be done, take that handle off and cover that up. It pisses him off next year because he wants to take it off and do something, wonders where the handle is. I'll just tell him again. I do that to keep somebody from putting it to dripping like they did here a while back. I don't know who it was, but somebody was making it drip because I had to turn it back off every day because it'd be dripping every day. I'd go check it and it'd be dripping. I'd have to turn it just that little bit. Doing that, noticed that the spigot part hadn't been insulated up, so I insulated it up to make sure it didn't freeze. And if that pisses him off, it just pisses him off. But it is kind of funny that Half Done put that bucket back over that spigot. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought it was stupid to do that because they won't freeze and bust. Well, Dale, just so happens, he's retired from being a mechanic shop owner. And Elaine suggested it's possible that was done so that we'd call them up there to come help figure out what's going on with that. I think it's just petty people doing petty things. But I ain't going to mention it. And it won't get mentioned. I've got it took care of. I do that thing up good in the wintertime because it helps keep that from freezing. And if that's not freezing, we leave stuff in the house dripping so as to make sure there's a spot where it comes out of the ground just up under the house right inside where the crawl space would be. Now I say would be because Half Done in his infinite wisdom decided that putting some tar, paper, and dirt up over that halfway up that crawl space would help stop water from going down into the basement. See, he doesn't believe that water goes down subterraneously; it comes out that way. Yeah. So, and he's arguing with me about that. I said it don't work that way. Yeah, somebody see they've been taught by the other half of that duo that anything I say is a lie, and so on those things, when debating me about things of natural science, in order to be right, he had to go totally off the wall. You know, that's when I knew that, in order to try to keep the peace, see, that was 1 year, something had happened. It was 10 years into marriage for them. We was sitting in what was the computer room, and apparently there had been a spat. And the other half of that duo finally showed their true colors after 10 years. Told me about it, and then turned his head straight to me and said, I ain't never seen that side. So I told him done, I said, welcome to my world, and laughed at him. And he don't believe in divorce, so he's stuck. And so in order to keep the peace and go along according to how the other half of that duo wants things to be, he's had to go totally off the reservation and lose his mind, and whatever she thinks and says is right. And it don't matter if it goes against the truth, the laws of physics and natural sciences and all like that. I'm wrong. Troy Sutton.
I tried.
So, yeah, you know what I mean? Trying to argue something with somebody who totally denies the physical sciences and physics. You know, having been into fixing tractors and farming and all you do, I'm sure you've had plenty to have to contend with. You know. So anyway, I dealt with that yesterday, and that's why I'm sore today. Because that was took a lot out of me. It don't take much, folks. It don't take much about at all to mess me up.
Let's just say you better be thankful that Piggy's talking to you about it today. He wasn't in a good mood yesterday.
I was not. I was irritated with a capital I, capital R, capital R. You get the picture. You know, but there was some good things come out of it. So it wasn't a bad day. Yeah, it was testy. Yeah, but I got over it because I finally figured out how to work my compressor better. Used to, I first got, I'd have to get it pumped up real tight and let the air loose and then do what I had to do. And then I had to tap back. Well, I finally figured out how to keep it going without having to do that. And so I ain't never had nobody teach me nothing in my life. Everything I've learned the hard way by having to do and messing up. So anyway, got that, and we went out and did a little something to allow me to calm down a little bit later yesterday evening. And So while there, I met this old man who walked around with a fairly good looking walker, you know. Well, I was going around about to leave, and I like that hat. I said, you like that? And he said, yeah. I said, well, thank you. I thought he was an old man. And but I found out something about him during that. He's an old Corps Marine. Now, he didn't have nothing on him denoting that he had been in the Marine Corps, but he's an old Corps Marine. And got to talking for just a little bit, and in relation to Marine stuff. He mentioned Castro, and I was like, whoa. He just kind of smiled at me. He said, yeah, that was before they called it Black Ops. Gotcha. Definitely an old Corps Marine. Talk about having been busted back down to E3 a few times before he got out. Well, Dale, sometimes, the hard way is the best way, because once you've learned it the hard way, you've learned it better than anybody else. That sometimes our skulls are too thick to learn it any other way because of stubbornness. And sometimes it's stubbornness because there ain't nobody else going to teach you nothing. So you just have to jump off that diving board and see if you come back up or if you hit bottom.
Sink or swim, sink or swim.
Yeah.
I had sunk every time.
Yeah, and then you have to try to shake it off and come back up before you get a lung full of water. But I learned that about him, and I told him, I said, sir, I said, that right there, I call definitely an old Corps Marine. He goes, yeah, that's old Corps. He's talking about being busted down. I told him, I said, well, Chester Fuller said, unless you got an NJP or three under your belt, you ain't a true Marine. Yeah, I've been wishing you'd listen to Ginger, huh? I've had a few of those moments with Elaine. Of course, Elaine's had a few of those moments with me.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a smile without crying for me. But anyway, so I go out to check the tires today. Now, granted, yesterday I got every one of them to 35. Now, when we went back out to go somewhere, check them out, little console thing, that front right tire was at 32. When I just gotten it aired up to 35, it was all showing 35. So I went and checked on it, and I was able to tighten that valve just a touch more. No, not, probably a couple of millimeters, maybe, if that. But, well, it seems to have been fine ever since. I go out there and check them today on the little dash thing on the car. The front right was showing it was at 35. The back right was showing it was like 34, 30, something like 34, 35, somewhere in there. There were different numbers. Not at the bad level, but different numbers. Both the left ones were showing 38. Now, they've been sitting all night and all day, and so they're not hot. So that wouldn't account for that.
Hi, Avid.
Avid! So, I check them with my tire gauge. By the way, I'm going to get me a digital tire gauge because That little one I got, it's fairly nice. One of the little round ones, got the little gauge goes up. It's fairly nice. But I have a heck of a time trying to read that thing because once it lets go, it drops back down. So I have to mentally mark where it was at on the gauge so I can bring it up and go, oh, okay, that's what it was. You know? And I've told Elaine, I'm either going to get me a digital gauge or I'm going to get me one like I got, except it's got a little valve on it that will keep it from going back down so it'll hold it so I can get it up there and read it before letting it go and do the next one. But I'm leaning towards wanting a digital gauge. You true mechanics out there, y'all can tell me whether or not the digital gauge would be better or the little one that's got the little release valve on it so I can bring it up and read it. It's better. But I'm kind of got a hankering now for a digital gauge. And hopefully with some big numbers so I can read the thing. But so I checked it with that gauge. Well, according to it, each one of them was somewhere around 34, 35, maybe 36. So that tells me that's got to be something wrong with them sensors. Or maybe there's some kind of reset you got to do in there that I don't know how to do yet to get them. Okay, have it sold. I'm going digital. He says he uses a digital gauge. I'm going digital. That's right, Mama Linda. Bigger the better. We can read it. Yeah, I'd like to have me about a 200-inch screen up here to where I could read everything really well.
I still couldn't read it.
200-inch screen of that section, like you take that TV monitor right there,
yeah.
that would be a whole section just for chat. I bet you could read it in because it'd be big letters.
Well, I would hope to, but I can't guarantee this is for me.
Yeah, Mama Linda, Abbott don't suffer from that. He's got eyes like a hawk, just like Johnny.
And got ears like I don't know what.
Yeah. But anyhow, so it's either all that or there's some kind of reset that's got to go on to reset those things to right. So I may run by or call Clay up there at North Georgia Tire and ask him about that. And I'm going to start checking these things every week, especially if I know Half Done has been around the house. Because if he'd been around the house, I can about guarantee that since he hadn't heard nothing yet, he's going to know I've figured it out.
Hey, Lori's prepping for heaven. Welcome in.
Lori! How you doing? But so anyway, that was my irritation yesterday, because the other day while we was taking our charge to the adult daycare, that thing popped up, said that was low, and I discovered all four of them were exactly 4 pounds low. Then discovered that the valves had been turned an eighth of an inch or an eighth of a turn out, which would explain all four tires being exactly 4 pounds low each. Now I had to mess with that. I had to tighten them back up. Then we tried to get them pumped up. We stopped at a Matco and used their thing. And their pump ain't exactly regulated correctly. I was getting cheated on that.
Yeah, they take your money. They don't mind charging you $2 for nothing.
Yeah, you got to pay $2 to use the thing. And then they cheat you on the amount of air you're actually getting. Well, if you had to be back and forth, you be back and forth. That'd be all right. But anyway, that was my irritation. But again, like I said, it turned out to be a good thing in the end because I learned how to work with my compressor better. Got to meet that old man and give him a good day. Put a smile on his face and everything. Only come out today to see that the numbers on them things are all screwy again, according to the dash thing. It's not a hood, but it's kind of like a hood, but it's on the dash. I saw what it was called at one time. I don't know what it's called anymore. I forgot. But all that's wacky. So I'll have to see if there's some kind of thing you have to do to reset them. Don't burn supper. But anyhow, that's what went on with that. And I'm going to have to make a weekly check on them things to make sure they ain't been messed with. I'll get me a digital one to make it a little easier to do that. Might get me some caps that allow me to do it without having to take caps off. I wish they made little locking caps that would go on there so that whoever tries to mess with them would have to really do some damage in order to do what they're wanting to try to do. But I don't know if they make such a thing. And that might be more cost trouble than it's worth. Because then I'd have to bend down, unlock the thing, take it out, check what I got to check, put it back together 4 times. I don't bend so easy. So it might not be worth it. And getting those that allow you to check it without taking the cap off might be counterproductive because then half done just play with those. Why is your phone out of commission? Did you scare it looking at it? He must have tried to do a short facing the thing and it got a good look at him and it said, I give up. I'm surprised mine don't do that, me looking at it. Okay, you're going to wind up in trouble, girl. I don't know if y'all can see her over there or not. No, probably not. She's just out of screen. So anyway. Ooh. That granite rock probably didn't even notice. But I'm sure that phone did. Huh? Because it faces. Oh, okay. Well, my computer's fairly strong, and as I look at it, and it still works, even on FaceTime. So it does pretty good. But phone might not be as strong. So anyway, that's that. That was my irritation. That's why I was irritated yesterday, but I got over myself. it was still a great day. Like I said, I got to figure out how to work my compressor better. I got a new hose for it, got a new nozzle for it. I got me a nice fancy one. I thought, well, maybe that's why it wasn't airing up. So I couldn't get the tires to air up. And this is while I was trying to work with that compressor. Locals! Howdy ho to you two! And so I put the regular long nozzle on it. Instead of the one I'm talking about, it has well, I'll probably show you better than I can tell you. Where you at? There you are. One of these. It's got the little gauge on it. Come on, get up there. You don't want to get, well, a lot of you mechs especially, you'll know that there's a little gauge right here that when you let off the handle, it'll pop up to show you what the pressure is. But I couldn't get it to work. So I thought, okay. And then I finally figured out what I was doing wrong on it. There's a little red turn knob on the front of that thing. I was turning it all the way to the left. Every time I put the nozzle to it, I smell entire air. Like, that's coming out the tire. It's not going in the tire, it's coming out the tire. What's that? You know, so my air pressure, of course, is going down. I'm like, what is up with that? I finally figured out, turn that knob all the way to the right, closes that up and makes it go through the hose to the tire instead of the other way around. Well, I had it opened up, Lori, but in the wrong direction. So I turned it all the way in, and it went in the right direction. So it was still coming out, but it was in the right direction and not the wrong direction. That's right, David. Do my hickey whatchamacallit. And so anyway, but this one I had the regular long nozzle on it. It finally started working. I got it aired up, and then I went to air it up the rest of them. You know, so I had it going. I got it filled up real good, and then I started pumping air, and that's how I was able to regulate it and get it flowing where I didn't have to fill it up, fill up the tire, turn it off, build it up again, and then do it again. I was able to keep going. So I finally figured that out. I've probably had that thing 3 to 5 years, you know, and have just now learned how to work it better. Of course, I don't have much opportunity to use it. Rambling with the brooms, how you doing? So, got that figured out. Now, I might take and put that fancier nozzle back on it now that I know what I was doing wrong. Because the gauge on it, I'd be able to read better than the one I got. And wouldn't have to take it off to read it. But then again, I might, might have to get on my knees on the ground and get down close to it to read it. But anyhow, I'll get to that sooner or later. But got that figured out. Got a new hose, new nozzles. So that works better because the other hose, I'd have been fighting with it even more because I fixed the worst holes in that hose. But see, I used to have it sitting out. And the kiddies were a lot younger. And they thought that was just a wonderful thing to chew on. So it made airing anything up really hard. So I won't have that problem now. Sampy! Seen you was in here early. But so got the hose replaced, new hose, so that's gonna work better. So that's a good thing. Got that. And again, I know how it happened. I know when it happened. I can't prove it. But a little deductive reasoning goes a long ways in figuring things out. Because I know they ain't but two around here in this community that would bother to do such things. There ain't nobody else around here got any reason to. Well, they may or may not, but I don't think they're willing to waste their time being petty. I know the other two are all about being petty. Got others in their communities and in their circles fooled into thinking that they're pretty much pillars of the community. One of these days, I might just put it out there and put it all over YouTube and Facebook and just tell the real deal and let those folks that think they're pillars of the community see what POSs they really are. But then if I just let it go and do what I got to do until we can get out of here and somewhere else, God will take care of it. And He'll do a much better job of what needs to be done about that. One of them's a troll, one of them's a half done, half wit. I mean, they both deny truth, physics, physical sciences, natural sciences, in order to make themselves look like they're right. But one's a troll, one's a half done, half wit. So I think the progeny of the half done has started realizing that half done is done lost his mind. They know why, because he has to get in line with what the troll thinks and how the troll thinks. No, you're not a nobody, Avid. Not to me. So I don't know where you're coming from with that one. What you're referencing. I mean, you done sold me on going digital on the tire gauge because I was talking about getting that one or that other one, and you said you use a digital one, and that sold me on going digital. So that makes you not a nobody. That makes you a somebody. I don't know what you're referencing on that. Did I miss something up here? The other Scotty. Who's the first Scotty? Oh, okay. Never mind. I get you. I understand now. See, I'm used to calling folks by their channel name for the most part. I may do some variations like Mama Linda, because that's who she is to me. I call Abbott Abbott, and I call 9 Acre Dale because that's easier to shout out there the way I do than the whole name. He knows who I'm talking about. And okay, Abbott, I'll be here. You do like Mama Linda, you can hit me up on FaceTime on there on Facebook. We can talk. Or in message, however you want to do it. But don't ever think you're a nobody. Because you're somebody. At least you are to me and Elaine. And Dale, obviously, and Mama Linda and the others in here. You mean a lot to us. Ready, Rich! There's a jar around there. She's still playing with that nose ring. I'm forever and a day going to give her a hard time about that. But only because I know we all do it at some time or another. I know I'm bad about it. Yeah. You're going to get it, little girl. You better quit that. Uh-huh. Y'all might can see how she's looking at that. She knows that'll bring a little bit of pain. Sadly, I have to make it hurt a little bit because, if you just touch her with it and threaten her with it, she's just going to look at you like, what? She over scratching on that chair, and we don't want her to. She done tore the back of this chair up so bad it ain't funny. But most of them, I can show them this strap, and they'll stop whatever it is they're doing and run. Her? No, you have to turn my back. She thinks she's safe. Made it back.
I don't know if I'm going to run again out there.
Well, you might not. Time will tell.
Hi, Rainy Ridge. There's Scotty at Long Cross. Okay, hello. I made it back in here, y'all.
Well, that's all right, Rain Ridge. You tell her I'd Piggy said howdy. Yeah, now she's getting down. She sees Mama over there at her computer, so she's going to try to get over there and get some loving. And there she went.
And my baby. Her, my Wancy.
Well, Abbott, here's the thing. In that light, we're all nobodies, but we're not really nobodies because Jesus don't see us as nobodies. Yeah, we all want to have people see more of Jesus in us than ourselves. But at the same time, you got to remember, the Bible does say that we will be known as we were known in heaven. And, so you'll still be remembered for who you were by those who make it with you. And we'll rejoice in that fact. But at the same time, we'll be part of the body of Christ. And we'll also be known for that. So Don't see yourself as a nobody, because Jesus does not see you as a nobody. He sees you as one of his children. God sees you as one of his children. So it doesn't make you a nobody. You still are who you are. Now, the thing with that is that you are also a servant of Christ, a servant of God, a child of God. And that will be known about you here as well as there. So you're not a nobody. Yeah, he does. We talk later. You can explain it to me, and I'll probably tell you much the same I just have. Here you go. Yes, he did. But we are somebodies that have chosen to serve God and accept Jesus into our hearts as our Lord and Savior. And we want to be like him, in that once we have accepted him in, more of him shows through us. But we are still somebody's because we are vessels that are filled with the Holy Spirit so that Jesus can show through. So you're not a nobody. You're not to me, you're not to others in the chat, and you're not to God. You are somebody.
We are wonderfully and fearfully made.
That's it. And once these seeds are put away in the ground, they bloom into the spirit, because our spirits go on. Our spirit is eternal. And we have chosen to spend that eternity with God and not burning. So never think of yourself as a nobody. You know, I want Christ to show through me to others, but I also know I am a servant and warrior of God and for God, because it is a battle. So we're all warriors in God's service. I'm sure they will, Abbott. They will know you as a very good man. He tried his best to serve God and spread his word. But you got to remember, people are going to remember the impact that you've had on their life because of Jesus in you. You know, I can still celebrate the life of someone who's gone on to be with God for who they were, but also remembering their impact on my life because they did follow Christ. And you can only do that if Christ is within you. So, yeah. Now, when I do things, something you and I discussed here recently, I don't want to put it out there that I did something. You know, because then I'm looking for the respect of men and not the respect of God. And such who seek that glory from others, that respect, are not seeking God's respect. You know, so someone who does something anonymously, Dale, you know what I'm talking about. They're serving God. God laid on their hearts a need that needed to be taken care of. And so they took care of that need. but they did it in a way to not take credit for it. So that way they can get their blessings from God for having been obedient to God, for having done something God laid on their heart to do. So that's right, Dale. That's why I said suck it up and just thank God.
Something we were talking about earlier, Piggy. When the Bible says, where has put it says, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Right. So that's one of the things Jesus had a problem with the Pharisees. They were out there all dolled up with the 10 Commandments wrapped around their arms and on their heads in different places, standing there with one leg up against the other leg, standing there on one leg and praying to God out in public. Well, they were seeking the respect of men. And like Jesus said, they have their reward because they're getting the respect of men and not of God. Like God tells us in His Word, worship me in secret, and I shall bless you openly. Hello? If you're out here doing stuff and you're doing it for people to see, you're a Pharisee. But if you're sitting there and you're doing stuff and people can't see, you're obeying God. And obedience, people, is better than sacrifice. See, sacrifice is something that God has laid on your heart to do, to make a sacrifice to Him. Now, it is partially obedience because you're making a sacrifice. But it's something that you know that you're going to have to sacrifice, so you know what it is. But when you obey God, there will be sacrifices in that obedience, and you won't know what they are until you do them. You may have to sacrifice something you really didn't want to sacrifice, but you discover that you're going to have to make that sacrifice in order to obey God, and you obey God anyway and make that sacrifice. So obedience is greater than sacrifice. Depends on how you step sometimes, Abbott. Mama Bear!
Hey, Mama Bear.
Are you feeling any better, hon? I presume not, since you say you're just stopping by. But I'm hoping you at least feel a touch better. Christine's. Huh? I must have lost something again.
You're good at that, Pete.
And Abbott, it will. Because, you pass on to people at your funeral, those that know you best times get her.
All right, girlfriend. Looks like you fix to go outside. Yeah.
They'll be like, God really made a difference in that man's life. Because like my daddy was a rascal in his younger days. Oh. And when I say he was a rascal, he was a rascal. We had one crooked sheriff, and he served as sheriff twice. Once during the years I was growing up, and when my daddy was a young man. And he used to take that sheriff off all the time because, Daddy liked to drink. And he pulled something off one time. Had to be God keeping the car on the road, because he went around this one curve that, before they made the road better, everybody called it Dead Man's Curve. And it got its name legitimately, because there have been many people tried to go around it much faster than they should, and they paid for it with their lives. Well, Daddy went around it one night. I'm too young to know, or wasn't even here yet, but Josie!
Hey, Josie.
But he had went around that curve at 120 miles per hour plus. And the sheriff at that time, that particular sheriff, couldn't hang. And Daddy got away from him. Daddy had a habit of getting away from him. That's why those years when this county's Trans Ams that he was famous for, that sheriff was famous for, he got one that had been clocked at 193 miles per hour. And he would go up to teens and young adults that had all these hot rods, and he'd tell them, he'd say, "We can race. If you beat me, I'll let you go." I never heard of anybody taking him up on that, because even if they'd have beat him, I guarantee you, he'd have made them pay for it. Because, see, that's one of the things he hated about my daddy, is my daddy could always outrun him. And he couldn't stand it that others could outrun him. He was a very bad sport. It wasn't about getting a speeder, and it wasn't about getting them for whatever they may have been doing wrong. It was about him losing. He was a bad sport. He couldn't think well enough to do anything better. He's also the most crooked sheriff this area has ever known. But anyway, 68% still in the chest and head. Been off work the whole week. Well, I hate that for you, Mama Bear. I really do. Dale, be sure to keep her in prayers. Everybody keep her in prayer. And pray God not only get her over this, but get her better to a point where she don't get hit with these things so often. Mm-hmm. To heal whatever it is that makes her susceptible to these things. There got to be something making her susceptible. So, wow. On the one hand, I say, that's cool as all get out. On the other hand, more power to you, because I just don't think I could stomach seeing that. I might could. I don't know. I ain't never been put in that situation. I do have a tendency to take care of a situation if it arises, and then get weak knees later. But, But anyway, he didn't like my daddy. Because my daddy was a rascal. He was a drunk. He was a rascal. He was supposedly a womanizer. I don't know how true that is, because the source that came from lies about everything else. Y'all get what I mean? Oh, okay. Autoimmune issues. Well, Mama Bear, God can take care of those too. I mean, look at me. I'm supposed to be dead. This right here, I wasn't supposed to come up off the table when they worked on me. Not move neck down if I did. But look at me now. Even though I can't do a lot, I can still walk around and wipe my own butt and not be a burden. God can do that. He can do something about them autoimmune things. I firmly believe that. The things I've seen God do in my life and the lives of others, trust me. I've seen a boy's had one leg shorter than the other. And I've seen that leg grow. You know, yeah, God can do anything. So you have to have that faith of a mustard seed and believe. Pray for it. You pray for it once, and then you just keep thanking and praising Him for it. In Jesus' name. It can happen. Might take a day, might take a second, might take 20 years.
Amen on that one.
I've seen people pray for stuff for 20 years. I prayed for something for 15 years. It finally happened. But you have to keep believing. Like the Shulamite woman, when it seemed her son died, the son that man of God, I think it was Samuel, had prayed for her to be able to have, because she was always putting him up and providing for him when he was in that area. And he happened to notice there weren't no sounds of little feet running around. So he inquired, found out, the woman was barren. He told her, God's going to give you a son. He's going to give you a child. That's right, Avid. You keep praying for it. You pray for it in Jesus' name, and then you just thank and praise Him for it in Jesus' name from thereafter. And believe it. Believe you're going to get it. The centurion approached Jesus about his child. And Jesus was going to have him come with him to improve his faith. That centurion told Jesus, Lord, I'm a warrior and a commander. And I know you are a commander. And I know if you say it be done, I know it's done. And so it was. That was a Roman centurion who'd been brought up believing all sorts of wacky crap. But he could tell, he could see that Jesus was who He said He was. And knew, because him being a warrior himself, that if the commander said it to be so, it would be so. And so it was. So you ask for it, you claim it, and you keep believing. Elaine and I would be in very bad shape if not for God bringing information in front of her on her computer about different vitamins that would help us in different ways. Ever since I got out of the Marine Corps, spent my time in the desert, I was always cold. By this time of the year, I'd be bundled up like Michelin Man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But because I firmly believe these vitamins that she's slowly built up, getting different ones, and over the last, 3 years?
We've been taking them now for right at a little over 3 years.
Yeah. I believe it has brought my body up enough to where I'm not chilly willy no more. Now, I still get cold, don't get me wrong. But my cold tolerance has went way up.
Yeah.
And it's because of vitamins that we take that's kept us away from the doctors and after the sea, away from the sea stuff and all like that. And I mean, it's got me off the CPAP. I had it bad. I was having like 59 episodes an hour. It means every minute I was waking up because I'd stop breathing and my body would wake me up. Well, that's good, Evan. But these vitamins, like I said, got me off CPAP. I was on that thing, 15 years? And I had it bad. They had me on a setting of 14, and I had to sleep with that thing. Well.
And he still snored and still had sleeping problems.
Yep, because it wasn't exactly right. And there was one vitamin that is shown that for most people, sleep apnea ain't nothing but a vitamin B12 deficiency. She got that. I was taking that for about a month. And I got to where I was snoring more with that CPAP than I was without it. And I was trying to get myself geared up to come off that thing, shut it off, and sleep without it. Apparently, God decided it was time for me to come off that thing because she and I were talking about it just before I was going to come to bed. I went to turn that thing on, get ready to put it mask on and everything. It wouldn't come on.
Wouldn't hit a lick.
No matter what I did for it. I figure the little transformer box that's on it in between the cords probably went bad and went out. That wouldn't have mattered because I couldn't go out and get one. So I slept that night without it. Slept like a rock. She'd reach over and feel every once in a while, check, make sure I was still breathing because I did not move.
He slept for 13 and a half hours that night.
Real good sleep. Mm-hmm. And I've been off of it ever since because of a vitamin that replaced a vitamin deficiency of that vitamin that I had. So that's a lot cheaper than a $6,000 sleep study. At least that's the cost of it at that time. And then the cost of a CPAP machine, and then the cost of replacing the mask every few months, and straps every few months, and all sorts of things. A lot easier to take that vitamin than it is to do all that. And you'd think that a doctor who would do no harm would check for that first, but no, they don't. There's more money in sleep studies and CPAPs. So, it can happen. So my cold tolerance is now up. I mean, this past year has been, I've been hotter than I normally am in the summer. But wow, I'm feeling the heat now. Started getting cold. Until the last week, I still just wearing a t-shirt and shorts and a pair of sandals. I'm still just wearing the sandals. But normally I'd be wearing some kind of sweatpants or thermals or something, and a t-shirt with maybe a sweatshirt over me, and sometimes my flannel jacket over that by this time. In here, right now it says it's 76 in here, but I would still be cold. It's 76 degrees.
Let's put it this way. When we cut the heater on, I didn't get no heat off of it because Piggy camped in front of it.
I would. Now I'm turning it down. And that's because of information about different vitamins that would just out of the blue pop up in front of her on her screen. Her no idea why. She'd be doing other things that didn't pertain to any of that. Well, Lori, I'm talking about the Hippocratic Oath. They're supposed to do no harm. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's all about the money.
Yeah. And Big Pharma has the money.
Yeah. And they also have to go by what the AMA tells them to do, or they'll lose their license. So they're caught in a catch-22. Do what's right, lose their license, or go by what the AMA says. And yeah, they make the money. Of course, there's a lot of them out there, like you say, don't care as long as they're getting the money. You know, I sure hate to be them on Judgment Day.
I had met some really good doctors, and for them, it wasn't all about the money, because if it was, they wouldn't have been doing what they were doing.
Right.
Mama's doctor, Dr. Ada, she started seeing him when we moved from Kentucky back down to Alabama. And he was an absolutely amazing doctor. And he didn't lie to me, because every time we go in, he'd tell me flat out he never expected her to be able to come into the office. He every time he saw her, to him it was a miracle that he saw her.
Yep. Well, my surgery, it was a miracle to my doctor and the medical staff up there that I was even alive. Totally thrilled that I was moving my toes. Because they didn't expect me to live, not move neck down if I did. Had a nurse come in one day and looked at me. She told me she was so proud of me because I was doing so good. I looked at her laying in that bed. I looked at her, neck brace on, all that. I looked at her and I went, "It ain't none of me. That's all God." That's why I was doing so good. So, yep. All you got to do is have faith but that of a mustard seed. You can move mountains. My faith is such that I don't just believe, I know. God has shown me too much for me to just simply believe it. I know it. Well, I will be happy to be there and see how that works out. I hope it works out real well. Dale, I say it'll go well. Or do I need to remember or remind you when YouTube tried to shut you off and how it worked out for your devotional to still get out there? I don't think I have to remind you of that. So I think it'll go off well. That's not to say you might not have a glitch here or glitch there because you're trying to work with something new. See, that's going to be on you. But I don't think you'll have too much trouble, if any, because God made a way for you to still get His word out there when YouTube tried to shut you down. So I think you'll do all right. Dale does a devotional after my live on Sunday nights. You may already know that. I don't know. See, he's got a new piece of equipment to work with now.
Mm-hmm.
God provided.
Which platform? Yeah, what platform? Another streamer, but if we're doing a different one.
So
I guess we'll find out tonight on his live, huh?
I guess we will. But I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Restream. I ain't heard of that.
Yeah, I heard check into that one.
So you're going to be using something called Restream to do your devotional at night? Okay. Like she said, we're going to check into that. But again, you've got God. And you do something that I'm not sure you're really that aware of that I do. I don't go to a church. I don't, and when I have, I didn't go to church to go be with God. I took God with me because God is with me whenever and wherever I go. When I say I go with God, I mean it. Anywhere and everywhere I go. I mean, He is everything. Everything is made of Him anyway. So it don't matter where you go, there He is. So I go with God. I take God with me. Okay. Well, like she said, we'll have to look into that. Don't know anything about X, Mama Linda, other than it's what Elon named Twitter after he took it over. I still don't have it, but as I understand it, he's made it a lot better. You can actually say on there what you want to say instead of having it censored. All right, Dale. We'll be there shortly. You know I'm going to be there. One way or another. But yeah, just you praying for something, you ask for that something once in Jesus' name, and then you thank and praise God in Jesus' name for it all thereafter. And you keep believing you're going to get it. Huh. Might have to look into that too, Mama Linda. So that said, I guess I need to go ahead and get on off here so everybody can do little things they have to do in between. You know, get something to drink, get something to eat, go take care of pressing issues, whatever. Because Dale does a good devotional. And he's really good. He don't think he's a preacher, but he is. He's not an ordained of man preacher. He's an ordained of God preacher. That's right, Mama Linda. Well, there ain't a whole lot on Facebook, Rainy Ridge. Bunch of junk, mostly. Now, Dale does do stuff on Facebook. Amy at Leonard Mountain Homestead does do lives and stuff on Facebook. Yeah, so you can reach them there and see what they got going on. Facebook, honestly, I'm just going. Sooner or later, I'm going to start whittling off some off of mine because I either don't never see them, so I'm just a number to them on their friends list. You know, or they're anti-American in what they say.
Or you don't never get posts off of it.
I don't never see posts from them. Now, you know, some posts, you know, some people's posts, I see them, but usually it's anywhere from 1 to 3 days after they posted it.
Yeah, I just made a post on the face on the bookity face about that. Anywhere from 3 to 10 days. I just saw like 5 from 10 days ago.
And if it's something halfway important, I might see it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You know.
They even get tagged in it. This took 3 to 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah, and may or may not see that. Don't worry, long cause if I've got you on there, you won't be one of them I shave off.
I'm friends with Scott on there.
And everything. And then there's some that just say some totally crazy off the wall stuff that's, you know, uh, well, I'll just say it. You claim to be a Christian and can support uh, a blue agenda, you ain't a Christian. Sorry, not sorry, but you know that's just the truth of it. You know that's as far into that as I'll get. And there are those that claim that and say some really off the wall stuff. You know that's going to be gone because you know got no time for that no how. That stuff I just kind of scroll by when I see it on my Facebook. But anyway, I'm gonna get off of here. Let everybody get around, do what they got to do, get ready for Dale and all like that. I hope to see you all there. And Piggy loves you.